Suppose one day you awake. You look the same, you might even feel the same, but your liver is now synthetic. Every day you wake up henceforth, another organ is replaced. Your skin becomes polymer, your brain becomes a computer. By every measure, you're a superior entity once all the organic components are gone. And yet, you mourn. Not mourning your humanity that has been lost, but mourning your former self. For despite retaining memories, there's not a cell left of who you were. That is the well-known philosophical question known as the ship of Theseus. Once all parts of something are replaced, and nothing of the original remains, is it still the same thing? Well, practically, it's functionally irrelevant. Culturally, it is one of the most important questions, especially when it comes to cultural identity. This remains true for religion as well. They change it century after century, adding new scripts, removing old scripts, developing or changing their leadership structure. So much so that if a person was taken from the past into centuries into the future, or vice versa, the religion that has the same name might be almost unrecognizable.
We didn't ask priests to be celibate until the 12th century. Angels, no mention before the 5th century, and suddenly angels are everywhere, like pigeons. Nothing is static in nature, or the universe, not even God.
God does not change.
Yes, he does. He moves towards us.
I am the way, the truth, and the life. Where should we find him if he is always moving?
Meanwhile, others seem to persist without end unaltered, but even they will morph and change, especially when they become part of another pre-existing culture, such as the practice of Sokushinbutsu. This was a form of self-mummification in Buddhism that was done in Japan for centuries, but Buddhists in other countries didn't do it at all.
Of course, this doesn't always go smoothly. Societies can have internal conflicts for centuries based on even minor differences in religion and culture. And this was the reason for the Roman practice of syncretism. Syncretism was when Rome would merge their religion with another society's religion, making the locals worship their own gods like Mars and Minerva, and adding the local gods to their own religion for the rest of their empire to worship, such as Isis and Mithras. This helped to integrate new societies into the empire in a manner that would let the locals retain their cultural identity and be absorbed into the empire at the same time with minimal conflict. Another method of doing this was Interpertatio Romana, which was where other cultures' gods were renamed to match the gods of Rome, calling Zeus, Jupiter, for instance. These measures were believed to help maintain a concept known as Pax Diorum, or Peace of the Gods. This essentially meant that if everyone worshipped even just one or two gods by themselves, if there was an even spread throughout the entire Roman population, then all gods would be worshipped evenly, and as such all the gods would favour Rome and provide security and protection unto it. As such, if a culture was heavily resistant to Interpretatio Romana and syncretism, they couldn't be allowed to continue, as they were a threat to the Pax Diorum. This led to the cultural annihilation of a lot of societies, such as Gaul in the Celtic regions, where the Druids, a class of people responsible for managing the religion of the area that refused to adhere to the Interpretatio Romana syncretism, and as such were wiped out in the regions conquered by Rome. And this brings us to Caesar's legion, the Bull of the East, the conqueror of 87 tribes, and the scourge of the new California Republic.
The legion is an entire society that was intentionally modelled from ancient Rome, due to being a society that their leader, Caesar, believed could and would survive in the post-apocalypse. And this extends to the Interpretatio Romana syncretism.
I used Imperial Rome as the model for my legion precisely because it was so foreign, so alien. I'd seen what had become of the NCR's attempts to emulate the culture of pre-war America, the infighting, the corruption. Rome was a highly militarized autocracy that effectively integrated the foreign cultures it conquered. It dedicated its citizens to something higher than themselves, to the idea of Rome itself. In Rome, I found a template for a society equal to the challenges of the post-apocalyptic world, a society that could and would survive, a society that could prevent mankind from fracturing and destroying itself in this new world by establishing a new Pax Romana.
Much like the rest of the Legion, it's twisted into something else entirely. For example, there was once a tribe known as the Twisted Hares. They resided in a place known as Dry Wells in Arizona. They, like many tribes after the Great War, had developed their own culture and language different to all others. They used their hair as a form of record keeping to transmit information from one member to another in the form of the way they tied their dreadlocks. They formed an alliance with Caesar's legion. And once their usefulness had come to an end as allies, they underwent what Caesar may have called Interpertatio Romana syncretism. Their women were enslaved, their men conscripted, and those that refused crucified, all along the roads of the legion's territory, for all to see. Their history was removed. No recording of their existence was to last, with only the surviving tribe members that became legionaries remembering their tribe. Even after many years of being in their legion, their own identity began to fade from memory.
My family, my tribe lives. Its history died long ago, fell under the shadow of the bull, consumed by another symbol. No, this isn't about family or any common blood. It's blood shared by acts, not by chance. Twisted Ears are dead, lost at Dry Wells, died in Wolpus's smile. Won't discuss their fate with you. Not now. Their past is mine to keep.
They became like Legion, just as the ship of Theseus may look the same, but every part of it has been replaced. It was the Interpretatio Romana syncretism that Rome did that made Caesar make this his legion's policy. The Interpretatio Romana syncretism would indeed make everyone in Rome the same, just as Legion does, but it does it in reverse. The Interpretatio Romana syncretism added new cultures to Roman culture, made them as Roman as Romulus. However, what the Legion does is to make all other tribes like Legion. Instead of adding the Twisted Hares culture and religion to their own, they made the Twisted Hares Legion.
It means a nationalist, imperialist, totalitarian, homogenous culture that obliterates the identity of every group it conquers. Long-term stability at all costs. The individual has no value beyond his utility to the state, whether as an instrument of war or production. Kaibobs joined me, and the Fredonians after that. All the pissant tribes with names that should be forgotten. I knew from the start I'd need to eradicate this plague of tribal identities, replacing them with a monolithic culture, a uniform identity. So that's what I did once my confederation of tribes was large enough. I crowned myself Caesar and created a single great tribe, my legion.
When a member of the Legion, a former Twisted Hares member known as Ulysses, was forging an alliance between the Legion and the Whitelegs tribe, the Whitelegs, to honor him, recreated his hair in their own, braiding them, making them like twisted hair. But they did it without meaning. The language Ulysses tried to read was without substance. This made him realize that his own tribal culture and history was erased, and he was the only one who could and would remember.
The Whitelegs meant to show respect, bribed me for Kaiser's favor, echoing mannerisms and words, showed them tech caches, taught them the workings of chamber and powder, spoke of Kaiser's pride in those that used such things. Lies. And then they tried to honor me, not the Legion. They brought me before the campfire one night, showed me how they changed themselves, how they wore their hair now. It was like my entire dead tribe in the firelight, teeth grinning red in the dark, eager corpses, blood-covered ghosts. They had taken my braids, the way of the twisted hairs, as if it showed they were like me, of me, while every knot in their braids spoke of raping, violence, and ignorance of what the knots meant. They thought to show respect, defiled it, lost myself in trying to read the braids they wove, when I remembered they had put no meaning in it. They had no history of what it meant. They didn't even know the insult in the twists, knots, and dry wells came rushing back, the white legs circled like that. It was like looking at the dead of my tribe, reborn as ghosts, hateful, hungry, bowing to Caesar. Another history, gone, carried by me alone.
This caused him to abandon the Legion and seek out a different life. His new path in life led him to being moments away from having the ability to destroy the Legion and NCR at the same time using nuclear warheads. It's this sort of thing that is exactly what Rome was trying to avoid. And Caesar's abuse of the concept brought forth. Had Caesar learned from Rome, as opposed to using it to enhance his self-image, Ulysses would have likely remained a loyal member of the Legion, wearing his braids and his own culture just as much as he does Caesar's.
Oh yes, raised in that tradition. And the teaching stuck. I was taught it was my responsibility to bring the torch of knowledge to the waste. I may have taken the torch part more literally than they intended.
The Legion's abuse of Interpretatio Romana syncretism is contrasted by its former second-in-command, Joshua Graham, the Burned Man, and his tribe, the New Canaanites. In The Honest Hearts DLC, the surviving New Canaanites with the Dead Horses tribe are protecting the Soros tribe in Zion Valley. While there, Joshua Graham teaches them of their religion, a descendant of Christianity or Mormonism.
I am a New Canaanite. We believe we are the heirs of a spiritual tradition given to our ancestors thousands of years ago. We have made and kept covenants with our Lord God to honor his laws. In exchange, we are promised eternal salvation after this life. A day will come when our Lord returns to judge us all. Until then, we must honor his laws and start others along the path of salvation if we can. That's why we trade with others and work the tribes. We have more than food and medicine to offer. Good news is our most valuable commodity. I wouldn't say that. I am the acting war chief for the Dead Horses. They look up to me for such matters, but I only have the authority they give me. Daniel is the spiritual leader and main link of the New Canaanites to the Sorrows. He's up in the Narrows right now.
While the New Canaanites don't really add the Sorrows religion to their own, they don't replace it either. They instead merge or syncretize. They also use Interpertatio Romana by having the figurehead of their religion, a cave-dwelling spirit, having been equated to God, his wife also being equated to the Virgin Mary, and their child to Jesus.
Father in the... Oh, right. He's some spirit the Sorrows used to believe in. Watched over them from the caves in the valley. They marked some of the caves around here because they think they'll be punished for going inside. I think as more of them learn the teachings of the new Canaanites, they'll lose their old superstitions. Oh? Oh. Of course. How stupid of me. They probably also think Mary is the mother and Jesus is the child. No wonder they picked up on things so easily. I guess it just goes to show how difficult it is to communicate sometimes.
While the new Canaanites could take a greater effort into recording the Sorrows religion as it is significantly better than what the Legion does, thinking that it's using Interpertatio Romana syncretism, but in reality are just annihilating culture and history, putting it to the sword. Historically, the Legion's method has been significantly more popular than Rome's. The conquistadors of Spain set to blaze thousands of Aztec records. The Nazis burned books by the library, and even Julius Caesar may have burned the Library of Alexandria. Not to mention the natural disasters that destroy records has led to a significant loss of history, such as the records held within Pompeii. And this sort of historical deconstruction is still going on today. Not just from tyrannical governments that try to change history to suit their agenda, but on the small scale as well, from a group that has possibly the largest track record of destroying history to suit its own ends. Christian missionaries. Regularly, small communities are contacted by Christian missionaries and have significant conversion rates. No one writes down what the community's original history was, or what their religion was. Within sometimes as little as 2 generations, an entire history of a community is gone, removed from memory, and there's no one left to mourn it. And that is a page directly out of Caesar's Legion. Until next time, stay tuned.
Could I ask, can you describe to me what happens for you in the Sing Sing? Did it become difficult to do Sing Sings and difficult to heal people? Or what changed when the missionaries arrived?
With no one to join his Sing Sings, Titikawa has lost his connection with the spirit world.
When was the last time you saw your spirit guide, the lady?
While there, Joshua Graham teaches them of the new Canaanite religion, a descendant of Christianity, specifically Mormonism. Because Utah, baby. What?
Utah, baby.
Utah's full of Mormons, man.
I might put that at the end of the video.
Just an offcut.
Utah, baby.